previously on 58 keys. I made a video linked below or to the side or wherever all good links are found about all the great things in Pages for the iPad, and specifically great, or at least good things, that tend to get missed. The hidden features, like headers and footers, for instance, the hidden word count. But there are, well, I was going to say bad, call them poor. There are some poor things to do with Pages on the iPad, and actually some that I didn't know. Quite serious issues that I only learned from the comments on that other video. So, 4 bad things about, poor things about Pages, the Pages word processor on the iPad. And well, there's little point just griping, isn't there? There's also some solutions and some workarounds for the problems where there is anything you can do. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as ever, as always, is for writers. Writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones, and today particularly iPads. Do subscribe or support 58 Keys on Patreon. You could find the like button somewhere. That's all really helpful, because there is so much for us to talk about, including more than I thought about Pages for the iPad. One thing, the iPad, I should say that, where all of the good things I said about Pages in that previous video are equally good on the Pages version of iPad and the Mac, 3 of these 4 bad things are unique to the iPad. Starting with grammar checking. Pages for the iPad does not include the grammar checking that you get on Pages for the Mac. This was pointed out to me in the comments. Can I call you Jay? Thanks, Jay. I missed this completely, and I realised actually that there was a good reason for that. I don't happen to use grammar checkers. If you do, though, there is now a workaround, or there can be. The workaround depends on what type of iPad you've got. This only works on an iPad that has either an M series processor or the A17 Pro. Now, I know, doubtlessly, you never buy an iPad without asking, what's the name of the I mean, frankly, it's the first thing I ever ask. On my mind, at time of recording, this means this mysterious workaround, this solution thing, works on the latest iPad mini, which was released in 2024, and that's the one that has the A17 Pro processor. Otherwise, there's the iPad Pro with the M1 processor or later, which means, in case you don't keep records of these things, iPad Pro from 2021, which is when I got mine, or later. If you're searching on Amazon, look for the 5th generation iPad Pro or later. Or there's the iPad Air with the M1 processor or later, which actually means the iPad Air from 2022 onwards. And that's the also 5th generation iPad Air, again, or later. So this doesn't work on any of the regular iPads, at least not at the time of recording, although you can bet money that's going to change soon. For the solution that all of these qualifying, is that the word? iPad Pro, iPad Air and iPad Mini, what these qualifying models can do is use Apple Intelligence. And Apple Intelligence includes writing tools, which themselves include this proofreading option. Like I say, I don't use grammar checking, so I'm really not a good judge here, but friends do. And I know at least one, actually, who used to swear by Grammarly, has now ditched that third-party app completely and is only using Apple Intelligence's grammar tools. I don't think you should buy a new iPad just to get grammar checking on Pages, but actually, I mean, is it the excuse enough? The newer and more powerful iPads they're excellent. Actually, I count mine as a new one, but it isn't. I've now had my iPad Pro for 4 years, and I use it extensively, thoroughly. I use it too much. So it does sound like it is, but it isn't exactly as if Apple's just trying to flog you only the very, very latest iPads to do this stuff. So that's a failing in Pages for iPad that you can fix, at least with the right iPad. Next is a short one that kind of a bit-ish actually is available, is there in Pages for iPad. It's just that it's a little inadequate and a lot hidden. Thomas Mann, 6416. Are there really 6,415 Thomas Manns? I can think of one who got there online before. Thomas Mann asked about formatting symbols, sometimes called invisibles. if you don't happen to know, and actually I don't think we should need to know, invisibles are characters that show formatting, such as a paragraph mark at the end of paragraphs, or as Thomas says there, spaces. On the Mac version of Pages, there is a Show Invisibles option, and you choose that and you're done. On the iPad, no. But there is a workaround, which is this. Tap on any blank spot in your document, and then from the pop-up that appears, choose Select All. Or if you're using a keyboard and a trackpad, like the Apple Magic keyboard stuff, you can right-click on the empty space to get the same Select All option. And either way, you choose it, and I don't think you're shocked, it selects all. But in selecting all, it also shows things like the paragraph marks and their section break. It's not the most useful feature in any word processor, but there are times when you get like this really peculiar break in your document and you can't figure it out, but this will show you, yeah, you lent on the section break button by accident at some weirdly contorted point. This will show you that. And it will show you, for example, when you've hit return too many times. What it won't show you is spaces, which is actually what Thomas wants. He specifically wanted this, though, because he will sometimes type 2 spaces and he wants to fix that. He wants to make sure there's just 1 space between a word and things. And the thing is, I recognise this because I do it too. And I think in my case it's because I learned to type on typewriters. Do you know, I was about to go off on one about spaces and typewriters. I really want to tell you what, when we're done with this stuff, with the useful thing, you get a mug of tea and I'll tell you why you had to type 2 spaces on a typewriter and why you must not ever do so now on a word processor. I mean, if you don't already know, you can just get the tea anyway. As for this 2 spaces problem, there isn't a way to show it through invisibles and character formatting, but there is search and replace. Search for space, space, replace with space. I think maybe that sounds more cumbersome than Pages for the Mac or Microsoft Word, which can just show you, they put a dot in for every space. But in a long document, are you really going to, word by word? I mean, I know we concentrate on the words, but search and replace seems to me to be less a workaround and more a sensible solution. Yeah, whereas this is not so sensible. And back to Jay. Actually, thank you again, Jay. There's no widow and orphan control on Pages for the iPad, or actually there is, it's just you can't switch it off as you can on the Mac. I have no real solution, and I've not consciously noticed paragraph splitting in an odd way, except that there have been times when I'll have cut out a lot of text, say. I mean, I'm always throwing my writing away, you should read it. And I found that, sometimes 2 paragraphs would have no blank space, no blank line between them, because they'd originally one had been at the bottom, one at the top. That's not quite the same. Widows and orphans is when you split a paragraph ugly with 1 line above one, but I don't know the answer to either of this thing. I mean, you can, and I suppose you probably should set Pages or whatever to have a certain space automatically after a paragraph. That would solve my thing, so that you just hit return once and you're writing the next paragraph. I still just do return, and again, I'm sure that's from my learning on typewriters. Typewriters, they do seem such an impossibly old thing now. But, carriage return, forget. For carriage return, it was whack. There's that was fun, and we've lost that along the way. Anyway, the last of the bad things about Pages on iPad, the 4th, and the only one that is also true of Pages for the Mac. There isn't a solution for this either. There's a kind of workaround. It's not very good, but it's all to do with footnotes and endnotes. And actually here, I need to say sorry to the 58 Keys Patreon members, because, I'm just after making them a video, an exclusive video that was just about this particular problem in Pages before I realised there were all these others. So just for them, I promised to do it faster and with more jokes in. That was probably the joke. Footnotes and endnotes, that's the problem. You cannot have both in a Pages document. You have to choose between footnotes and endnotes, and actually I think that bit's fine. I can't see a reason why you would ever want both, and I can actually just see that it would be very confusing for readers if you somehow did. So that's fine. Less fine. You cannot directly create endnotes in Pages. You have to make at least one footnote first and then say, no, I want endnotes. And you only do it the once. It's not like every endnote has to begin as a footnote and you convert them one by one, but it's still a bit weird, isn't it? I mean, what goes to endnote? To create a footnote, position your cursor in the text wherever you like, then hit insert if you can find it in awkward spots. Insert and then footnote. Cursor jumps to the foot of the page, pops in an endnote, and pops in a footnote number, and then you write your note. If you just want footnotes, well, you're done. You click back out of that anywhere in the text and you carry on writing. You insert other footnotes as you need. That's it. If you want endnotes, though, you have to do this. Having made at least one footnote, click in one footnote. When you do that, every footnote in the document gets ringed in blue. Tap on the format icon, the paintbrush, and then tap footnotes there, and then type, and now choose document endnotes, section endnotes, or also actually you could have footnotes as well, couldn't you? The difference in document and section is the footnotes go at the end of the book or they go at the end of the chapter. If you do choose one of the endnote options, then every footnote instantly turns into an endnote, and that's done. And you can also instantly convert them all back if you want. So, not being able to have both footnotes and endnotes in one page's document, fine. Having to make footnotes before you can turn them into endnotes, okay. But then there's this, and this is just wrong. Footnotes and endnotes in Pages on the iPad or the Mac will show you only 500 words. They actually hold as much text as you like, but they will only show the first 500 words, and they do not show that anything else has been truncated off the end. You have to recognize that the last line of the footnote is not the last line that you wrote. The sole thing that you can do about this is write fewer than 500 words in a footnote or an endnote. Now, okay, actually, if your footnote or your endnote has to be hundreds of words long, well, then maybe actually that information should be in the body copy, in the main text instead of in a note, but you don't have an option in Pages. And particularly, it does not show you that you don't have an option. 500 words cut off at the end. Also this actually, if the footnote is quite long, this is a small thing, but if the footnote is quite long, it's supposed to start at the bottom of one page and then continue at the bottom of the next, and you can forget that. Not in Pages for the iPad or the Mac. A footnote is a note at the foot of the page, a foot of one page, and that's it, however long it is, up to about 500 words. Although speaking of that's it, that is it for the bad things about Pages, mostly on the iPad. All I've got for you now is the history of spaces on the top. Hang on, where did you go? Okay, I might be talking to myself here, but this, and not unreasonably, because this most definitely comes under the category of bleeding obvious if you already know it. But I love this stuff. The reason you used to have to put two spaces after a full stop when you were using typewriters, and why you must not ever do that now on any word processor, Pages, Word, any of them. It's this. Typewriters used to use what is now called a fixed width font. They weren't called that back then. Back in the day, there was no need to call them anything. They were just the letters that appeared. You pressed a key, the lever rose up, slaps the letter against a ribbon. Does this not sound prehistoric now? Press, rise, slap, your letter is typed onto the paper. I don't barely remember that. But it was always this fixed width font. So the capital letter I took up as much width on the page as a capital M. The I just had a lot more space on either side of it, okay, compared to that M. Anyway, which is why to our kind of eyes today, it makes typewritten text look weirdly spaced out. But back in the day, it only looked weird to us all. It only looked weirdly spaced out if the space between sentences was the same as that between words. That was tripping up your eye. So you'd end a sentence with a full stop, then you'd tap the space bar twice to make a slightly larger gap before continuing the next sentence. It was just what you did, and it was actually just what was needed, really, to make new sentences clear. Fine. None of that is true anymore. None of it. Yeah, you can get fixed width fonts, and actually there is a case for them. For example, in screenwriting, I nearly went off on one to explain why Final Draft and the rest use Courier fixed width font. That's another story. Enough now. Today, in general, fonts are not fixed widths, unless you pick out one of the few that are. Instead, the width that a capital I makes is no longer the same as a capital M. It is much, much less. Plus, word processors kern text, K-E-R-N, text like no typewriter ever could. Take, for example, a sentence beginning with the word take. On a typewriter, you'd type the T, you'd type the A, and carry on, and those two letters would take up the same room. On a word processor, you type the two letters, but the A is automatically moved. It tucks in underneath the top or the crossbar of the T. That is kerning, and that kind of thing, A or E into the T, is the most obvious, most visible example of it, but actually throughout the text you're writing, it's going on all the time. And then, you know how word processors can justify text, not as in explain them. Yeah, they can make your writing have exactly straight margins on both sides, although they do it again by adjusting the width of a space, making some spaces slightly wider, some slightly narrower, to force that to happen. And that is why you mustn't type two spaces in a word processor document. The word processor won't get just rid of one of them. It would just kind of struggle to change the width to make everything look good. I think it's like that two spaces, it's a positive choice by the writer. They've chosen to do it deliberately. And where word processors will do what they like to a single space, it's as if, well, they must mean it. The writer will respect too. And the result is your text looks awful. That's it. And there are also things like non-breaking spaces and stuff. But now, again, we're off on something else, and you're just looking at me. Let me say instead that that's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Thank you very much for watching. Now take care of yourself. There's take in the letter. Yeah, write more, and I'll see you soon.